Welcome back to Lime Rock Park for round 4 of the iRacing British Touring Car Championship with me, Chris Cohen, and Rob Burton here on BSR TV. Hopefully our stream should be a bit more stable now, Rob. Rob, are you still there?
Yep, cheers, yeah, it's all a bit more stable.
That's the worst time to say something, to go quiet when I say hopefully everything should be working. Oh, brilliant! But let's go over to the track and watch the last part of the warm-up session. Just to recap on the qualifying session, Rob, Chepelevsky is on pole and Lopez is second. But I mean, sometimes it's more beneficial to be in second, isn't it? On tracks. I'm not sure about Lime Rock. Is it a good pole at Lime Rock? Can't say I've ever been there.
It's not a bad pole. It's really when you get around turn 1, because the corners go the other way around. You could get some cars going around the outside, which might help as well.
Yeah, and of course turn 1 is quite a long corner, a double apex corner, right-hander, and we'll just see it on the screen now as we're having a look at Richard Wilde go around it. Turn 1 is a double apex right-hander. It's bumpy. There's more than one line, and we're going to have probably 35 cars going around there, so expect to see some degree of action, should we say.
Yeah, definitely expect to see some sort of action or incident maybe, hopefully nothing too serious. I like to see them all keep it clean around the first lap at least.
Yeah, so would I. I mean, I just think it's unrealistic. These guys are not amateurs. Well, they are amateurs, they do it for fun, but they're not beginners. They know what they're doing. Even the slowest guys, probably still faster than someone like me. They're very good at what they do, but if you put that many cars in that close a space, you're going to end up with problems. And I think that is pretty much all there is to it.
Yeah, I mean, and this track is also probably one of the tightest tracks to go to, isn't it? In terms of starting off around these tight corners as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think you might be right. And unfortunately, we've lost our cameras for the start, which is a bit of a problem. So, all kinds of technical problems going on at BSR TV. Apologies for that, but we'll bring you the grid as soon as possible. We'll have a look at this rather nice entry stall and the BMW advertising. Until then, why not? But off the line, it's not a great deal of space between the start-finish line. There's a pit crew all getting ready there. The start-finish line and the first corner. So we're not going to have a huge massively quick entry into the first corner, as it were, but we've got some slower drivers higher up and some faster drivers slightly further down, because we saw Simon Field isn't actually very near the front of the grid, Rob. I think we might have lost Rob again. Have we? Oh, the lights go on from Lime Rock Park. Yep. Everyone's on the grid already, and round 4 for the British Touring Car Championship here on iRacing and BSR TV is underway. A very slow start from Richard Wilde there as Chepelevsky and Lopez get away well, but what's happened to Richard Wilde? He's got swamped, absolutely swamped as they go down into turn 1 for the very first time. Lopez is down the inside as Chepelevsky looks to have overrun it, and they've collided. They're sideways, and Lopez is causing another. Oh, there's a huge collision. What's going on here? This is awful. Lopez is out of it, and well, it looks like most of them have got through there okay, and
Chepelevsky is actually pulled over as well. He's in the pit lane.
Chepelevsky's in the pits. What is going on here? That isn't. We called it, didn't we? We said, will they come together at the start? Adam Terry's off. It's a bit of a. I don't even know who's what where, but Richard Wilde is currently in the lead of this race, and maybe it's a good thing he got such a bad start.
Yeah, well, hopefully we can get a replay of that shortly.
I'm gonna try and get one up on the screen momentarily, but that was quite some start. We'll try and go back to the very start of the race to see if we've got it. Right, away we go with Richard Wilde then. Have a look at Kobe Lopez coming around the first turn, gets on the inside of Chepelevsky, and then the two come together. It's difficult to tell from that camera angle, Rob, exactly what happened there, but we'll see if we can have a look on board from Kobe Lopez's point of view. Chepelevsky gets late on the brakes in the first corner. You can see him go wide there, and then, well, again, it is a little bit hard to see from that point of view. But let's have another look from Chepelevsky's point of view here, coming down into turn 1. It's difficult. Yeah, well,
It looks like Chepelewski went a little wide, and then it looks like he found a gap there to go up the inside of him, and he turned in a bit late.
Yeah, it does look that way, and then Chepelewski's having to pull off because he's got too much damage. But he's just coming out of the pits now, so Chepelewski's race is effectively over. Richard Wilde is leading this race, Rob. Very surprising.
Yeah, definitely. Richard Wilde leading the race by 1.5 seconds on David Burnett, and yeah, this is quite a strange race. And already we've got Ellis Stevens up in 5th place.
Wow, 5th place for Ellis Stevens, and that's a back marker up in front of him. That Team Bianco car there. 4th place at the moment is Martin Johnson. Let's just get those positions up on the screen for you there. So, top 3, Richard Wilde, David Burnett, and Dan Hunt. Very, very impressive result so far for Dan Hunt. Martin Johnson is 4th. What a start for Martin Johnson. Stevens is 5th, Janowski 6th, Oblev is 7th, Mawson 8th, Naris is 9th, McGarity is in 10th. And just look at that, the 3 new entries. Alright, oh, and coming down the inside there, is that Chepelewski? Trying to gain some positions back there? It is, yeah. So, let's go on board with Stelian Chepelewski, and do you remember 1976? Obviously not personally, but you remember 1976 at the Nürburgring with a certain chap called Niki Lauda?
Yeah, I know Niki Lauda. Yeah.
Comes out of the pits. For anyone not familiar with it, and if you're into racing anything like as much as we are, then you'll know this story very well. Comes out of the pits, gets held up in the pits for a very long time. Championships depending on this race. Gets a little bit out of shape, shall we say. Still debate about whether it could have been a mechanical failure, but crashed the car, almost dies in a fire. Very unfortunate as well. But isn't that the same thing as what we're seeing with Chepelewski here? He's thinking, I'm a lap down, I'm 2 laps down, I've really got to go for it now.
Oh yeah, I mean he's got nothing to lose. He might as well just go for it and go for broke, try and overtake drivers and see what happens.
But I mean, overtaking people who are on the lead lap can be a little bit dangerous, can't it?
It can be. I mean, you still have a right to overtake them, I suppose, but you've got to make it clean and not get in their way too much.
And Chepelewski's right among the pack, and of course you're seeing this guy, he's a backmarker, you're expecting him to be slower, but he's really not. And we've got a 4-car, 3 Addison Lees there. That Bianco's in a big Addison Lee sandwich, and these guys need to be careful here. They really do. That's Julian Janowski leading that pack there. It is a backmarker behind him. And then at the back there is Risto Oblev, who is another new driver. They need to be very careful. Just watch what happens as they come into turn 1 here, because we're 6 laps into this race already and it still hasn't settled down. That Bianco car's got very out of shape there, and everyone gets away with it this time round. But let's go back to the front. Richard Wilde then with a 2-second lead over David Burnett in the Pertec. You can just see just behind, starting to pull out that gap even after 6 laps, Rob.
Yeah, I mean that's not a bad gap to have. I was expecting like to have it a little bit higher than that for the remainder of the race, and hopefully you can just carry on and not have any problems.
And let's go a little bit further down the field then, because Ignacio Pinella, who didn't set a qualifying time, is now in 10th position. That is a fantastic drive.
Yeah, obviously he must have started on the back of the grid if he didn't set a time, but that's a fantastic start. I mean, obviously with all those drivers that had incidents on that first lap, that sort of helped him.
And just up in front of him, Tim Mawson is going down the inside of Stephen McGarity here. Mawson, this is for 8th place, coming down into turn 1. That's a dodgy place to make an overtake, and pulls out of it, probably quite wisely in the end. But let's go on board with Tim Mawson and see what he can do about this Dynojet car that's just up in front of him. Coming into turn 2 now. And not a lot of these, it's one of those typical American tracks, Rob, where not a lot of the corners actually have official names. Not like us Brits, who kind of tend to name them after old racing drivers and funny little things like that. But, he's getting very close to the back of that car, and there was almost contact there. I think that might have been a little kiss. And there is a car actually coming down the inside there. That's a back marker. So Tim Mawson's not losing a place, but there's a bit of a lunge there, I think, from that back marker. It's difficult to say. Is that Koba Lopez, perhaps, who's coming down the inside there? Yes, it is. So
yes, it is, yeah.
Lopez is trying to unlap himself, but in the meantime, he's kind of he's upset that battle between Mawson and McGarity, so Mawson's going to be working a little bit harder. Meanwhile, Julian Janowski, at the front of that Addison lead train, is now 0.6, half a second behind Ellis Stevens, that eBay car up in front. And coming a bit further down the field, like I said, Piniela's in 10th, Ryan Littlemore is currently 11th, Richardson 12th, Stephen Hefford's doing well in 13th place. And we were talking at the start of the race about Simon Field not having set a qualifying time, but he is down in 20th place, unfortunately. But that's Jonathan Rex in the KX Momentum right up in front of him, and Sam Goff just up in front of him. So there's a 3-car battle going on here. And let's go on board with Simon Field and see what that's like from the point of view of his front wheel, in fact. Field, I would argue, is probably faster than those two drivers on a normal day, but we don't know why he's qualified so low. He did set a qualifying time, didn't he? It just wasn't a very good one.
That's right, yeah.
Perhaps it's not really his favourite track. Who knows?
I should also point out two cars behind Simon Field. They have Andreas Katz, who's still trying to get around.
Well, Katz is someone we haven't mentioned, isn't it? Because he was 4th on the grid. He must have got caught up in a first lap tangle, and well, he's 22nd now. He's on the lead lap though.
Yeah, still on the lead lap. He probably had a little bit of repair to do to get his car ready to race.
And he's kind of on his own out on the track because he's got 5 seconds in front and 5 seconds behind to any cars that he'll be racing for position with. Meanwhile, Simon Topham for Wix Racing, it's one of the few times where the two Simons, Simon Topham has come out first because he's ahead of his teammate Simon Field at the moment, but under pressure there from Eckhart von Glan right behind, and Marcus Narras is behind as von Glan looks down the inside, won't make it work this time. Actually sacrificed quite a lot of time by having that little look. I expected him to pull out of that one, but he's decided to go for it anyway. And just behind those guys, Laura Bond is currently in 17th position, but she is ahead of that little battle that we talked about before, Sam Goff, Jonathan Rex and Simon Field, so I could see all of these cars coming together by the end of the race. And just coming back to the lead now, Richard Wilde's gap is now over 3 seconds to David Burnett. Wilde not taking any other race wins last time, so he'll be eager to get his name on the winners board for the first time this season.
Yeah, definitely. It's always nice to have your name up the top there as a race winner, and what better way to do it than other people making mistakes?
Well, probably the better way to do it is to earn it yourself, I suppose. But
I suppose sometime in racing you've got to have luck go your way.
And this is the view from the back of Ellis Stevens' eBay Motors car at Julian Janowski, who is half a second behind, and that is, if you're seeing double, that is because there's another Augustin Lee just behind, Stelian Chepelewski, but of course after that first lap incident, he is now a lap down. So there's really not much of a gap between these two guys on the track either. Stevens seems to be faster in the second part of the track, but the thing is now that Janowski's getting held up by Chepelewski as well, so Chepelewski is right on the back, but I mean, from his point of view, isn't it better to let his teammate race Stevens?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, he's not going to get a lap back really. He might make a couple of positions up later on with cars running out, but he's not going to make that much difference. So he might as well let his teammate by.
And we've got a quick change of position here because Pinella is now up into 9th. We saw McGarity was 8th, that orange Dynojet car. We saw Tim Mawson's Jack Goff car just behind, but Tim Mawson and Pinella have now swapped places. So Pinella will now be chasing down the Dynojet of Stephen McGarity. 13 laps gone here from Lime Rock Park, only 3 laps to go. And again, a first lap incident has really decided this race, but it's really shaken things up because none of the top people really will be scoring any points except Richard Wilde.
Yeah, Richard Wilde and Ellis is up there in 5th as well, so that's going to work out quite well for him. They also point out that Richard Wilde does have a 3.3 second lead, so a nice comfortable lead with 3 laps to go.
And he's a bit like the tortoise, isn't he, Ellis? The tortoise and the hare. So while all the other hares kind of scream off on the first corner and crash into each other, Ellis the tortoise carries on It's not even a tortoise pace either. He's a very quick driver, but just carries on very sensibly. Never gets into any trouble, and always seems to come out with a decent amount of points, unless he gets disconnected.
He does always seem to improve in the races as well, from starting back a little bit further qualifying and getting higher up the order.
Meanwhile, Janowski has dropped back a little bit, and he's now under pressure from one of the Bianco cars, but that's not for position, so that's another back marker. The nearest car behind Janowski, who's in 6th, is his teammate Hristo Ublev, so it's a little bit confusing because there's quite a few back markers out on the track now. But the position seems to have settled down a little bit, I've got to say. Unfortunately, Topham has lost out to Eckhart von Glan, well, unfortunately for Simon Topham, so he's down to 15th. Von Glan is the orange Dynajet car you can see just up in front. Laura Bondo is right on the back of him, and Sam Goff is right on the back, so we've got a bit of a train going here, so we'll stay with this one for a little while. Von Glan now under pressure. That's Topham's yellow Wix Racing. Laura Bond's white eBay Bianco skin, and then Sam Goff in the red car. Jonathan Rex picking up the back of that train. So it's a 5-car train here. We'll have a look at it from Jonathan Rex's perspective, as we're here on lap 14 now out of 16, only 2 laps to go, Rob, nearing the end.
Yep, nearing the end already. It all seems to go over so quickly.
I'm just listening to that engine. It did sound like Rex might have had a fuel issue there, but seems to be alright. And he's going down the inside here. It's Jonathan Rex down the inside of Sam Goff into turn 1. Goff takes it nice and wide, lets him go. That's a bit of sensible driving there, and Rex is now right on the back of Laura Bond as we go on board with Rex once again. Can he make up another position? So he's already up from 18th to 17th. Oh, Bond gets a bit slow around that corner, but Rex manages to keep it, and it's all going on up front as well. Eckhart von Glan is now under real pressure from the drivers behind, so let's have a quick look from this perspective. Look at that, Rob, there's about 7 cars in a big line.
Oh yeah, this is great racing. We're on the last lap now, and what a great way to finish.
Oh, and then one of the cars has gone over. Is that Laura Bond? Wow, that's a huge impact. Laura Bond into the wall and off the track. That would probably result in certain death if this was real life. But what happened there? Let's have another look at this. Well, what a shame, because I was just saying how nice it would be if all these cars could kind of come through that in one piece. And you can see Bond there is the first white car in that line. They just come around this corner now. High-speed right-hander. She's behind Simon Topham. Topham's right on the tail of Eckhart von Glan, and it looks like Bond's just caught the corner of Simon Topham's car upside down off into the barriers, and wow, now that's a huge impact, and actually clears the track on the rebound all the way around to the other side of the track. Oh, what a mess, Rob.
Ouch, yeah, that was a big mess.
So let's have a look on board, see if we can get another look at that replay from Laura Bond's point of view. Laura, normally a very consistent finisher, not necessarily the fastest driver, but one of the most consistent. And let's have a look into this right-hander here as she turns in. Field perhaps a bit heavier on the brakes than he would have been otherwise, and did just clip the corner of Field's car, but Rob, you wouldn't expect that to happen, clipping the corner of a car, and then she's just a passenger from there.
Yeah, I mean it's quite good racing. I thought Law was going to go around him at one stage, and just clipped the edge of the car and flipped over. So
that puts Laura Bond out of the race, and unfortunately we missed the end of that race just because of that incident. But the win, there we go. The positions are up on your screen now. So the win goes to Richard Wilde. David Burnett, full 5 seconds behind. So impressive drive from Richard Wilde, and third place goes to Dan Hunt. So well done to Dan Hunt. Impressive result. Martin Johnson, first race in the British Touring Car Championship, comes home 4th position. What about that, Rob?
Yeah, very good place.
And Ellis Stevens, the tortoise amongst the hares, comes home in 5th position. A solid result. That'll help his championship no end. Julian Janowski holds on for 6th. Newcomer Ublev holds on for 7th. McGarity 8th. Pinella 9th, and another newcomer, Tim Mawson, 10th position. Some incidents, but generally some very good racing there.
Yeah, definitely. And as you can see further down the field there was 13 drivers that were at least a lap down. So that was the instance at the start that was causing people to repair their cars and not continue because of too much damage.
Yeah, indeed. And look at the finishing positions here. Adam Terry, 22nd. Chepelewski, 25th. Craig Ray, 26th. Nick McCarron, 23rd. Scott Malcolm, 28th. So a lot of stuff going on. Not necessarily the best race, but let's see if we can maybe have a word with a couple of these guys if they're willing to give us their thoughts on this. Bearing in mind they might not be in the best of moods after that, but let's see if we can have a quick chat with Nick McCarron, who didn't have a great race. Nick,
You could say that.
talk us through the start, because there was that turn one was very interesting.
Well, from my point of view, I saw the crash up ahead of me, slowed down, and I ended up with a sideways Adam Terry right in front of me, and there was nothing I could do other than wait for him to get out of my way and let all the other cars go past.
And then we didn't see it on camera, but I'm assuming you took on some damage, and then that was it. You had to pit.
No, I was all right. I thought I was going to have to pit, and then I thought I'd give it another lap, see how the car's feeling, because it's not that slow. And I was working through traffic. I was just round about Simon, and I had a bad exit out of last turn, and then he got past me, and then we came up on Peter Foster, and that's who I had my little thing with before I ended up in the pits.
Well, it's definitely a shame that you couldn't finish any higher. I know you would be disappointed with that particular result, because it does mean that you're further down the grid in the second race. But do you see this repeating at the second race? I mean, we're going to have a bit of a mix-up at the front of the grid, so it won't necessarily be the fastest drivers up at the front.
Well, who knows? I mean, they had a big crash. All the fastest drivers had a big crash at the beginning of this race, so...
Well, that is true, and it is difficult with such a tight, bumpy, narrow turn one, I suppose. But 2 more races to come, anyway. So not the best start for you, but I'm sure you'll be able to improve in the other 2 races. So good luck to you, Nick.
Cheers, mate.
That's Nick McCarron there for Team Club 44. Not the best, I have to say, Rob, but he'll be looking to come back from that one in a little bit more style, I should say.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully some of the cars will have a better start. And we all like to keep it clean, but incidents do happen.
I'm wondering maybe if we can get a quick word with last lap crashee, Laura Bond. Laura, are you with us?
I am here.
Glad to hear you're all right after that accident, Laura. Talk us through that one.
I saw it coming. I should have given them a bit more room, but I was trying to get into the points and was going for it. So bad luck anyway.
Well, it definitely rotten luck to be turned over at that point in particular. Maybe a crash, but not necessarily a flip. But a dramatic one nonetheless, and a good one for our cameras. But was that a genuine overtake attempt then?
No, I was just trying to stay close to try and get them coming out of the last turn and up onto the straight, but just got too close, and I think they slowed more than I expected, and I ended up in the back of them. But it was quite spectacular.
It was, so yeah, top points for that. Unfortunately, the season doesn't actually award any points for spectacular crashes, but never mind. Your position in the championship is not altogether awful. You got some good points last time round.
Yeah, I managed to get 1 or 2, 15th and 14th, so just trying to finish in the points each time and see what I can get.
And what's your season objective, do you think? To finish higher than last season, perhaps?
If I get top 15, I'll be quite pleased with that, given the strength of the field.
And that's a comment we keep hearing from lots of people out there. Even Adam Terry, who was last season's runner-up, of course, he said the field is now so strong that it is even more difficult to get points. But not always about points. I suppose it's about taking part as well, having some fun, right?
Absolutely, we're having great fun here tonight.
Brilliant. Well, I'll leave you to have fun with races 2 and 3. Try and keep it on the tarmac this time.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Laura.
Good luck.
And that's Laura Bond there for Team Bianco. And after a very large, almost final lap crash. Was it the final lap, Rob? I can't remember.
Sorry?
Well, was it the final lap on which Laura Bond had that accident?
Yeah, it was, because the leaders are just about to cross the line, and we were looking at the replay, and I think that was the last lap. Yeah,
what a time to do it as well. So we're going to bring up the bring up the next session. So we've got a little bit of time here. So what I'd like to do is just have a quick recap on exactly what you missed if you were watching. If you didn't watch, rather, I'm losing my mind. If you didn't watch last season's completely lost my mind. Here's what you would let's try to start again. Here's what you would have been missing if you weren't watching the racing last week from Brands Hatch. I knew I'd get there in the end. The lights are on already from Brands Hatch India's round one is underway. Robert Fagg has been squeezed right in the middle of this battle there in the Speedworks car there on your picture, in the centre of your picture. Oh, and the Yuasa car's gone wide there, so and the Diaz has gone wide, and there's 4 wide coming into Druids.
Wide.
That's never going to work. Oh, that is a disaster. McCarran's
Oh,
off.
oh my God.
Fagg is off. Look how close he is behind there as well. Goes out wide around Paddock Hill Bend, tries to get that extra angle on the exit. Katz has gone defensive here, so coming down the hill towards Druids, takes the inside line. Katz goes defensive but thinks better of it. Now we see the cutback from Katz as he takes the wider line, but it's unsuccessful, and you have to say it's a great overtake from Shepelevsky. Coming around the final corner now. Shepelevsky will take it from Andreas Katz. Shepelevsky wins the first race of the season.
So we'll see what happens now. Short shift up to second, and everybody's slowing already, so I'm going to try and position myself out wide here and see what happens. That's not what we wanted to happen.
Adam Terry's currently in 12th place, picked up some damage to the front of that car, so not getting through the first lap unscathed. Going to try and go down the inside of this back marker, who hasn't seen them, and that's very close, isn't it? And there's contact.
Oh,
Contact.
contact.
Cars make contact with Shepelevsky, just could have done some damage there, Rob. And now look at this, Robert Fagg is right on the back of Nick McCarran and Steve Richardson, so this will be an interesting battle. As McCarran goes wide again, you have to wonder what's going on with his tyres there. Robert Fagg, one of the newcomers here, but already proved he's very fast. Just look at those 2 cars in the background now as well. Those 2 will be right with this pack very soon. It's all to play for here, and well, hopefully it won't end in tears like it did in that mid-pack battle last race. Going on board now with Robert Fagg as he takes the outside line into Paddock Hill Bend. Coming down the hill there, see the eBay Motors car, Steve Richardson just clips the curve. Fagg will go down the inside now in an attempt to take this one at Druids, but oh, and it looks like Richardson's gone very wide. He's had to give up the place. Fagg is through. Nick McCarran right on the back bumper of Steve Richardson's eBay Motors Kia there. Adam Terry, though, picking up the back of this group. He'll feel hungry for this one, won't he? He could take quite a few places here if he plays it right.
And yeah, they're right behind one another as they cross the line.
Adam Terry then coming into Druids for... Oh, and he's gone into the back of Stephen McGarrity.
Jeff is really fast. He's done really well today so far, and he's putting on a good show and getting some good points on the board.
The lights go red, and we're away for one final time at Brands Hatch India. Look at those cars squirm as they come off the line. Oh, Richardson's gone wide. Richardson is off.
Yeah,
So-
Shepelevsky's got nothing to lose really. He's just going for it by the look of it.
And Ellis Stevens looks to have disconnected Rob. So through Druids, it's quite a tight pack. You can see there as you're just looking at this on the replay. And he's actually collected from behind. So who's that in the Speedworks that's collected him there? And oh dear, and he's come back on the track. I don't know what he can do there, but he's taken out one of the Yuasa cars. Andreas Katz right behind, and Katz is going down the inside. Oh, very, very wide from Richard Wild. He's all over the grass, and he's let someone else through as well. And now look at this, up at the front of the field here. We are looking at Robert Fagg, who is right on the back bumper of Nick McCarran, who is currently leading this race. Just look at how hard he's working that car, trying to get any kind of advantage over McCarran. And he's got him. McCarran's gone wide. Well, anything could happen. These 4 cars are all on the lead lap, all coming into the final few corners. Alright, I've got a feeling that we might just be seeing their finishing positions, unless...
Simon's
gone
gone
down
the
the
inside.
inside. He's hit McCarran. McCarran's gone sideways. Oh,
Shepelevsky's got through.
it looks like field.
Shepelevsky.